manifesting through the pain. I reach for you like a fading ghost, like a vapor of smoke. You look back but didn't see me. One day you'll notice something missing, and you'll turn to look for me, and I'll be gone. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. I'm manifesting through the pain, like a whisper lost in the rain. In the night I'd fading like a ghost train. You have only yourself to blame. An empty carriage, a carnival of pain, with ghosts standing in the rain. My memory, your pain. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. I'm manifesting through the pain. In darkness you'll scream my name, but no one will hear. It's just you and your fear. I'll never be near. You'll imagine me, my hands touching, my ghost dancing. Looking into my eyes, you'll see all your lies. You'll remember all the tears I cried. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. Is it safe to fall asleep? Is it safe to dream? Eyes open to all these weird things. Alice knew what she had to do. Keep calm and journey on. A splendid time it could be, taking the high road blissfully. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Hectic white rabbit racing against the clock, but Alice had another thought. She knew she ruled the plot, so she ate this and drank that. Was simple as tit for tat. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. A caterpillar smoke rings, he really thought he knew things. Two sides to the same thing, glowing smoke rings, cool and cryptic, but Alice didn't miss it. Big or small, Alice would not fall. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping. disappearing, sitting in a tree, smiling constantly. A type of madness with clarity. As the Cheshire cat kept grinning, Alice took what she could and headed back into the woods. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Mad Hatter tea party with dormers and hair, they could have lost their minds anywhere, but it was neither here nor there, for Alice really didn't care. Tea time with madmen, a swamp of thoughts. Alice got up and walked off. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Unbothered so far, the Queen of Hearts with her guards. You're nothing but a pack of cards. You can paint the roses red and be off with their heads, but I'm still asleep in my bed. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Alice remained unbothered, you see, for she knew it was all just a dream.
As I travel this life alone, two paths both unknown, for what already has this life shown. The first step I diverge from normalcy, no paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say. Less traveled, dark and cold, I came upon a fork in the road. I pondered, both mind free. The fall had come, for yellow is the autumn tree. Both I long to travel, for I'm but one. I could not see, for both were bent, the overgrowth and canopy. Where will destiny lead me? The first step I diverged from normalcy, no paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say. I began my journey on the road less traveled. Regret haunts me at times, looking back wondering where the other path myself would find. But both paths are traveled equally, for many take the zombie road to normalcy, and others seek individuality. From the wear on the trail it appears 50-50. With every footstep came pitfalls and risks, rewards and opportunities. Looking back, what did I really miss? The first step I diverged from normalcy, no paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say. A nervousness born from the earth, my madness came by storm. I heard heaven and hell, but how can I be mad? Across the table, I'll tell you the tale. I wanted for nothing from the old man, not even gold. I'll tell no lie, it was the old man's eye, a veiled pale blue eye. Peering into it, my blood ran cold. And my heart is where I hold a secret plan for this old man. A descent into madness, it cannot be, it was the old man, not me. A pounding, a beating, the heart kept screaming. You may think me mad, but how for madness knows nothing. I sit here, my mind clear, this tale I tell. Are these the sounds from hell? 7 days I crept planning, but never did the eye reveal itself till that night. A slip, a sound, awakened did he, but I could not flee. I felt his fear that we tried to comfort and steer his dread, for he lay back in his bed. In flash I jumped on him, dragging him down. Now no more sound, he lie there, dead on the ground. A descent into madness, it cannot be, it was the old man, not me. A pounding, a beating, the heart kept screaming. Both fear and glee swept over me. No one would ever find the body. Sometime now they came, sat chatting, but I could hear it, the heart beating. It grew louder and louder, I could no longer contain myself as I slid the chair. They still stayed there, not leaving, my anxiety rising. Could they not hear the beating heart coming from beyond the dark? No longer could I stand it, came my admittance. Here it is, the beating of his hideous heart. A descent into madness, it cannot be, it was the old man, not me. A pounding, a beating, the heart kept screaming.
Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. I apologize because we just moved into a new studio and we have not set up the soundproofing yet. We were doing it all last night. We were thinking we were probably going to be at the old studio one more night, and that didn't happen. But we did not get the soundproofing done. So guess what? It's going to sound like this. So I really do apologize. Let me get right up on the mic so it won't be, the echo is what it is. I'm aware of it, and we will make sure that this next episode that we do, the next live stream, which will be tomorrow night, which is a call-in, and we will, we'll have it together. We'll have the soundproofing done. But folks, we've been just dealing with a million things. It's just been one thing after another. So I was out at the ranch all day and night yesterday, and so that's what's going on. Who all do we got in the chat here tonight? The echo isn't that bad? You don't think it's that bad? Cool. Well, that's because you're an idiot.
Let's just end the stream on that.
I'm out of here. Okay. I'm playing around. Look at my hair. Good grief. It looks good even though it's messed up. Isn't that crazy? You know, and there's so many people that drives them nuts that I have hair. They're mad because I'm 50 years old and I have hair. Stop hating. Stop hating on the hair. You know? Let's see if we can get this camera positioned a little better. Move my chair down just a tad. There we go. Oh boy. So a lot of stuff today. I want to give a shout out to my friend Arash and his daughter Mina. We hung out with them today at his place. Sip and Smash was called. That's one of his places. It's new to me. I haven't been there since he's been the owner. I went there when they had the fights there. No, not bar fights. They had actual fights there. And my friend Chief, who's been on the show, he is a coach, and he has a, what's it called? Catch Wrestling? He does events there.
Texas Catch Wrestling Coalition.
Yeah. Texas Catch Wrestling Coalition. And Arash has taken the place over since last August, and I haven't been out there yet. It's his new place. But Spinners is where he sells the turkey legs, and we're going to be going into business together. So that's going to be a new business venture for us. For those of you who've sent me information, you know, like telling me these people are doing this or doing that. I mean, I'm going to be real honest with you. I appreciate it. You looking out for me and everything that, you know, but the people that are doing and saying things, their opinions are worth nothing. They're just trying to get everybody into big arguments and fights and stuff, but I'm not going for it. I'm not going to respond to those people. I don't care what they say in their chats. I don't care what they say in their groups. I don't care what they say in their meetings or whatever. People can say my name all day long. Bless you. It doesn't mean anything. They just throw my name into stuff, and I'm not involved in any of their shenanigans. I don't care. But I had a lot of people reach out to me. I say a lot. I say several people have reached out to me. Enough to where it warrants me saying something, but not enough to where I just don't really care. Just know that, you know, everything is fine on our end, and I'm not interested in fighting. I got things I got to do. We have the new channels now. Everybody knows we have random files, and that's going well. Mm-hmm. It's being monetized, so that's a good thing, right? And then we have True Crime Paranormal. Now, last night was Saturday night, and I know it was True Crime Paranormal night. So that channel, we did not drop an episode last night. We just couldn't do it. We tried to record. And yes, Riako, this is the new studio. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's kind of echoey in here right now. I know it's what it is. Until we can get the soundproofing up, it's going to be like that. But tomorrow night, when we do the open lines where people can get on the panel and tell their encounters and do whatever, it'll be ready for tomorrow. So be looking for that tomorrow night. We will be in our new digs here. Another reason why it's kind of echoey is because there's nothing in here.
Yeah,
it's just me and
it's just empty.
And these guys.
It's just a big void. It's not working?
No.
What about now? There it is.
When you do it, it works. Gee, that's a very colorful shirt you got there.
What
Tony.
did you keep?
It's my party shirt for a new area.
the party. Where'd you get that one at?
I found it off a little girl.
He beat her up.
She was like, "My dad will love this," and I was like, "No, she won't."
Wow.
Yeah. See,
he forearmed a kid to get.
I didn't even know that. I just made it up because, I mean, that's how he is.
That was when you were shopping at Goodwill, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you were too cheap to buy the shirts. You had to beat up somebody for it.
No, I mean I wasn't really.
But he don't defeat it against women and children.
Yeah, children.
I wasn't really shopping.
They don't stand a chance
unless they're older than like 11. Once you get into the higher echelons, like 12, 13, then he hasn't.
I mean, there's levels to this.
Yeah, he's 1 and 2.
Yeah. No, the little girl was in the back where they dump off the clothes and the food, so she was just digging through that, and I was like, "Yo."
Oh, so you assaulted a homeless poor child? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You fit right in over there.
I mean, that makes the shirt more valuable to him. Yeah. Like the more low down he has to get to acquire it.
He fought for it.
Yeah.
I think her bloodstains are something.
Well, you know, if you got to fight to get it, you got to fight to keep it. So good luck.
Yeah, some Girl Scout is gonna come along.
Ring the doorbell.
Yeah,
he's gonna smart off to her, and she's gonna
give him the business.
Yeah, You're gonna shove Thin Mints down your throat, dude.
Yeah.
You're gonna choke. Somebody said now with reverb. Is there reverb going on there? Yeah. Sorry about that, man. You can't all be special now, can we? We're trying. All right. Exactly, Duke. That's exactly what it is. It's one of those tuxedo shirts, man. Those are perfect because that lets people know you mean business, but you're also still just, dumb. What you gotta do. What do we got? Almost 200 people in here. We'll get some people going here. The studio being where it's at now will be a big help because now we'll be closer and we can get to do things quicker. So hopefully we won't be late as like we were, but we got back just in time from Arash's bar over there. He did a good job with that place.
Yeah,
If you're ever in the Austin area, go to Sip and Smash. It is a really cool place. They have a pickleball court. I couldn't even begin to play pickleball even if I wanted to because my knee is garbage. But yeah, it's a pretty cool place. And like I said, shout out to him and his daughter Mina. Mina was like a toddler last time I saw her because he doesn't take her to the bar, but that one is like a family place during the day,
Yeah.
And so there's
patio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they play pickleball. They have all kinds of stuff there. It's a really neat place. And so she was there today. And like I said, I haven't seen her in so long, because, Arash works nightlife. So do I. And, but she's like in 7th grade now. So, 12 years old. Mina, congratulations on doing a really good job of being a 12-year-old. You're a smart kid. Very, very smart kid. Really, really in tune. We were talking today with her and Arash about NPCs, these non-playable characters, and how some people aren't even real people. And she picked up on that. So I really think the younger generation is starting to kind of like they're ahead of where you guys were, and they're definitely ahead of where we were. And it's not even a contest between them and the boomers. They're like a night, like. So they understand like world events. It's crazy. They're starting to be an awakening, and I think that generation, will be at the forefront of change, real change. And I think that their time is up for a lot of these shady, sneaky politicians and these entertainers and people that have done all this garbage. Because I asked her that question. I was like, she's in middle school, I said, do kids talk about what's going on in the world, and so some of the children, she said that they were saying things like they don't like celebrities.
Yeah.
And that they're done with famous people. And I'm like, wow, that's huge because I was with Loki this weekend and shout out to him. He was helping us, and your brother and everybody that was working and helping us do stuff. And one of the things that he was talking about was like how when we were young, thank you for the cult fees, Quinn. I love when you guys give us the cult dues. Make sure you put on there for the cult because we're always being called a cult. So whatever, wear it with pride.
One of us.
Yeah. And so, hey, Wendy, how you doing? So one of the things that I've noticed about this younger generation is they're like almost born with an innate ability to sense out the BS from these people. And that's not a coincidence. I think that's happening because there's so much of it that they've perpetuated on us or perpetrated or perpetuating, against us, that the younger people are now being born like with this ability to just sense it. It's like, okay, these people are not good and the things that they're doing are bad. And they had I'd say, like I said, put a number on like the boomers, maybe 25% of them are kind of awake. I mean, they're awake. I mean, but I mean like awake in the way that they know exactly what's happening. You can talk to them about it. And then you have, thank you for that, Walker. Appreciate that. And then you have like 50% in our generation, like Gen X. And then the millennials, it's probably like, maybe 70% maybe, but their generation's like 85%,
Yeah.
It's crazy like how well versed they are. When you talk to them, they're not like normal kids, Of course there are some, but it seems like there's less NPCs with them.
Mm-hmm.
and like they are starting to come back to this reality, and and it seems like they're going to be the ones that are going to ultimately change it. And I've thought that for a while, because you're just starting to see like a more of an awareness and kind of wondering where their place in the cosmos is. So as always, I get like weird emails and people saying all kinds of weird, dumb things to me. And I got like 3 or 4 of them this past weekend, just reminding me how stupid I am and telling me that I believe that the earth is flat. I never said that, but they said that I did. What I'm going to tell you is, if you believe what you believe, right? Whether you believe the earth is flat, which I do not personally believe that, or if you believe it's round, which I do not personally believe that. This person says, have you ever been south of the equator? Right. One of the emails, I read part of it. I didn't read the whole thing. It was too long. Didn't read it all. So I kind of jumped around. And all I read was like something about a telescope and, and another person said something about my opinions don't matter or something. And and I'm like, you just typed up an entire book and you're for me to read. And because my opinions don't matter. Okay. So I'm going to be nice and not give away your names and your whatever, your handles, so you don't get attacked, because you probably would. But it's really ridiculous that people would even contemplate, coming at me like that and saying, well, your opinion doesn't matter and you're stupid and you're this and you're that, because you obviously are paying attention enough to stop and write me. I don't stop. I don't look at a podcaster and go, oh, that guy sucks, I'm going to write that guy. That's never in my entire life happened. I have never once stopped and said, I really don't respect this person and I hate their opinions and I don't like them, so I'm going to have a conversation with them. And
Never
the thing
seen the
is,
point of hate mail.
yeah, the thing is, if you are in my business of doing what you got to do in this community, you're going to be like, yeah, I got to talk to people. That's what you got to do. But yeah, exactly, Wendy. So why are they listening to me? Right. So if you had a podcast or you were writing a book, and sometimes you got to talk to people. One guy I remember years ago, and this was one of those stories I did on that other show, and it was about the Haskell Rascal. And that guy was one of the most, still to this day, he was in the top 5 of the most annoying witnesses ever. He was watching NASCAR and obviously drinking some sort of really lowbrow beer. I'm not one of those guys. I don't drink, but I'm not one of those, oh, you need to have some kind of, pinky up, craft beer or whatever. But I could tell this guy was probably drinking like, Busch Light, because it's cheap.
Yeah.
And he had an amazing story, and he did not give 2 poops what I thought or didn't. And he was just, hold on. Oh man. And like, you're watching NASCAR, dude. What part is there to hold on? Like, what are you doing?
Making another right turn.
Just go around the track and around the track. And he was just, he was basically telling me to hold on. Like I was aggravating this guy, And eventually he started getting more and more abrasive. And then as the story came to an end, he said, well, that's all I got. Bye. Like, this is a person I would never, ever go out of my way to ever have another conversation with. And I didn't. He had a brother who had a Bigfoot encounter, and I interviewed that dude. He was way different. He kind of had his own way too. He was fishing while we were talking. But he said, yeah, my brother's really hard to take, man. He's just a guy where he is, blah, blah, blah. And he said, that's why I don't really talk to him. So if I asked him, which I'm not going to, and I haven't, but if I asked him, I would say, hey, his name's Merle. I'd say, Merle, have you decided to take the time to tell your brother how annoying he is and tell him large chunks of conversation? Like, I promise you, he would tell me he doesn't care. His brother's name is Dickie. So I know Dickie's he's that kind of guy. He's not going to give a shit about what you say. He's not going to care. So when you guys send me information about how you don't like me or how stupid or ignorant I am, I don't know science, and a bunch of different people saying dumb shit, it's just like, it was three. It was shocking though that 3 people would do that in one weekend. I don't think that's ever happened. So that was weird. I was like, okay, so 3 people decided to get together. So it might have been the same people, You know, it might have been like, a coordinated thing or whatever. I kind of figured it was. It might have been the same damn person. They all wrote kind of the same. But I've had a couple people over the weekend or over the course of a week, send me something. But to type up all of that, to tell me that you think I'm stupid, don't waste your time with stupid people. Yes, I'm stupid. So don't waste your time with me. If I am stupid, what does that say about you when you took the time to write several paragraphs telling me that I'm stupid and that I have a low IQ? The sad news is I don't have a low IQ, and that's I hate to break it to you, man. I don't. And so you're wrong about that, The one guy called me an idiot and, all kinds of stuff, said that I don't know anything about religion. And so that guy sounded like he was coming from a religious point, but the other person said that this is what he said. He said, Jesus isn't real. He said, demons aren't real. And he said that Jesus wasn't real. And that was all I needed to know from him. And the other person was trying to school me on religion, telling me that I'm wrong about the things I say about certain religions. I don't agree with you. And I never will. The beauty of this whole thing is that I have an audience, and I can sit here and I can go on a live stream at 2 a.m. and get 200 or 300 people to listen to what I'm saying. And then by the next day, there'll be 1,500 to 12 to 2,000 people who've listened to what I said. And then it'll just keep growing as the week goes on. You can't do that. You don't do that unless you're another hateful podcaster who's jealous. So while you're in the corner screaming and yelling, nobody's paying attention to you. These people that messaged me. The third one was definitely a female. I know that. And she's messaged me before. So I know who she is. And she has told me that she's very disappointed in me. Because like Tucker and Candace and Mark Dice and Alex Jones and pretty much everybody that has any common sense is saying the same thing. She says, I just can't believe, I'm so disappointed in you. I thought you were one of the good ones. And then when you started talking about truth and things like that and justice, I knew you were not. Because the Chosenbergs have said that you are not the good guy. Because you're talking about Jesus. When you say Christ is king, you are literally being evil. Because that's what Ted Cruz said. So keep saying it, folks. Keep saying Christ is king. Apparently that's like garlic to vampires or something to these people.
Good.
But yeah, she's very, very upset with me. It was all that Dan Marino's fault. Laces out, Dan. So yeah, there you go. There you have it. So I'm really sorry that I have offended these people, the Three Stooges. The one lady, though, like I said, she's not a nice old lady. Don't think that, because she said some really horrible things on those emails. And I said, one thing I've learned about your correspondence with me is that you're not a nice person. Now I know why your grandchildren don't talk to you. She said her grandchildren don't talk to her daughter. Don't talk. Now I know why. Because I'm saying Christ is king, and now you're angry about it. Don't say you're a Christian and if you're balking at saying Christ is king.
She starts hissing.
I mean, yeah. And then I went and looked at the Facebook, and there was one picture. She was like, I was like she was trying to smile, but she looked like Wario. I was like, whoa, or Waluigi, I was like, ooh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, some people, if you see
holding her grandkid like this,
you can tell just by looking at them. Some people,
yeah,
like I can see that I can practically name exactly what's on you just by your crazy whacked out eyes. Like you seek power over me, and I can see it like in this. Whenever someone looks at you, they're like this. Yeah, they crave power over you. They're crazy. Get away from them.
yeah. Or if they have the fish look,
Yeah.
and they only get
Not there,
animated if you activate them with code words, then they're like, just kind of their eyes get real. Why is the camera not flipping over here for me? Did we not set it up?
You know what? I think maybe your keyboard's not even working right now. I got to make sure the Bluetooth is.
You need batteries or what?
Start mashing it.
It needs batteries or what?
People say I can't write.
That's like
because I said I can't write.
That's like when your little brother wants to play the Xbox with you and you give him the controller.
Oh yeah.
plugged in.
Well, you know what? You did that with your little brothers.
Yeah,
Until they were like 4 or
I didn't-
5. They figured it out pretty quick.
I didn't even know that anyone else did that. Like I didn't learn that from anyone. I just got creative.
Yeah, Paulito figured it out real quick though. He was like, "This isn't working."
Yeah.
He became aware, sentient when he was like 5. And also too today. So your Anthony's uncle passed away today. So let's say keep him in your prayers, his family, Ralph.
At least he went in his sleep.
I grew up with him, and we were close at one time. Over the years, we kind of went our separate ways, and it's a cautionary tale, folks. And he admits it. He did a lot of things, that got him to that point. But yeah, you really have to look at like you're going to live longer than you think you are, because a lot of people in my generation thought, well, I'm not going to live to be 50 something. So they just did drugs and drank and thought, well, here it is. This is what I'm going to do. And
Yeah, I hear that a lot, dude. People are like, I didn't
retirement
expect to
plan
live
was
this
death.
long. Like, what am I supposed to do now?
The retirement plan was you're going to die.
Yeah.
But you gotta see the shows we watched when we were kids. I mean, y'all didn't have Sesame Street was not like what it is now. Back in my day, they would come out and they'd sing. They do all the Muppets, they do the little, or we'd have the Muppets, and they would sing songs like "This is your left, this is your right, you're gonna die," and that would be the whole song.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
1,
they're not
2,
lying. They're not
3.
lying.
Now you're
They
dead.
were dead.
Yeah. But back then, they told kids the truth.
Yeah, back in my day, you know what they would do? They'd have these PSAs for kids. And I'm telling you the truth. And then we're going to get started here. But the boomers, they had this thing where they would be like, let me tell you something, Billy. Back in my day, when we saw a van passing out candy, we ran to it. And they had ice cream and cookies and candy. And we heard the melody. And we all ran out there and we gobbled it up. And Jose, the candy man, was really cool until he got busted abducting people. And then they did it to that poor nice kid down the street. He got busted doing it too. And then another one and another one. So every week we just had to find a new guy that was out there peddling the candy. And so if you're in the younger generation, we would literally run out there and chase after an abduction van to get ice cream and candy. And we liked it. We'd go out
The good old days.
yeah, back in the good old days. And people are now, and they're sitting there going like, what in the hell is wrong with these people? Well, what's wrong with them is that we were tough. When pit bulls ripped our face off, we just put it back on. We just kind of smushed it back and went to school.
Back in my days, you couldn't grow up unless you got abducted.
We fought grizzly bears on our way to school in the snow with our loose leaf notebook. You don't even know what a loose leaf notebook is. See, you're lucky. You're lucky.
It wasn't even called abducting. Our parents handed us to the kidnappers.
Yes, they were called babysitters. Dude, I had a babysitter that smoked pot on the porch and talked to her boyfriend on my mom and dad's cordless phone. And my mom gave her permission to spank me. I'm not even joking. Her name was Lisa. And she grabbed a belt and would like chase us around the house. She only spanked me once because I threw a shoe at her. That's the whole story. But she caught me by the bathroom, man, and she spanked me all around my legs. And when my mom comes home and she goes, your mom's the one that told me to do it. And I was like, and you get that weird, like that's where the camera zooms in and you're like you're like,
I've been betrayed.
My mom comes home and she's like, yeah, good. Go to bed. That's what you get. She makes a frozen pizza, eats it in front of you because she's got the munchies. That was your babysitter back then. Now you got babysitter. They get their credentials. They're like, when was the last time you had a bowel movement? What is your credit score? Mm-hmm. Are you renting or owning? Where did you go to school? A&M? Oh.
Let's have some fun time. Let's listen to either Mozart or
People
Bach.
still went to those schools. That's when you had that now. That's what you have now. You have helicopter parent. Back then, it was like the news would come on and go, do you know where your children are? And the truth is, nobody did. My parents would go, crap. If he gets hurt or something, they're going to come after us because we've been bad parents. We've been at work. Who's raising your kids? Well, the TV, they have baseball on there and there's Transformers. He's good. That was it. The light comes on, time to come home. That's it. But now we got 300 people in here. Let's start cracking them, dude. So we talked on what was it, Wednesday? We talked on Wednesday about, what is this one even called? Did we name it correctly?
Yeah, terrifying werewolf answers Ouija board.
Yeah. So we talked about, and we touched on this, right? So this is kind of a story within a story. Hold on one second. I need something to drink, please. We don't have a fridge in here yet. So brand new studio. So here we go. So last week we talked about, on Wednesday, we talked about the Lobo Zone of Brazil. And there were 4 women in particular that we talked about. Rachel, which is one of the main people, and Naomi, Marjorie, and then Marguerite. And those 4 women were the ones that I talked to. Well, I talked to 2 of them. And when I talked to 2 of them, one of them was in the background. She really didn't speak much, but she didn't speak English, but Portuguese, because they're Brazilian. And so they were talking to me about this case. And so I went really, really in depth. I talked to Roberto, who is one of their, that's Linda. And Linda would be Rachel's aunt that she lived with, because her mom and dad, her dad was an alcoholic, unfortunately, and her mother got in trouble. I'm not going to say for what. She just got picked up and got put in jail. So she was 14, so she was old enough to go live with her Aunt Lydia. So she went to go live with her Aunt Lydia, and her brother, his name is Roberto, he was older. He was like a few years older. So when the mother got in trouble, he was already like 17. So he didn't really, so he, and in Brazil, especially back then, they didn't have an emancipation. They're just like, okay, go live wherever, So that was that, So here's the thing. Whenever this whole thing popped off in the middle of all of this, and if you know, if you haven't watched the episode after this, go back and watch the episode, because this story is something that took place within that whole realm. My conclusions of that episode on Wednesday, I mean, you can come to your own conclusions, but I think that there was something really weird going on there. I have my own theories about it, and people have messaged me about it. I had 2 different people message me, and they were like, do you really believe this is what I don't know what to believe, because the thing, and we talked about this at length, Anthony, after the show, you and me and Tony, we were talking about it yesterday at the ranch. We were all there, a bunch of us, and we were talking about it. What was it? Was it a tulpa or an egregore? I mean, I don't know. I know this. When this guy, and it wasn't Caracas, I have to correct that. It was Cartagena. When he was in Cartagena, that's the capital of Colombia. He was a cop there. He had left Cartagena in 1962. So he was a cop there from 1957 to 1962. So this guy would have been extremely old when he was living in Brazil. And so you're sitting there going like, what in the heck is going on here? Thank you. One of the things that I can say 100% that I believe is this is not only a weird and unusual case, but I think it transcends supernatural because of the chat rooms. And they were just, so one of the people that was their friend, this guy, Rodrigo, he had basically said that he believed, or I'm sorry, Rodrigo and Hugo, there were 2 different guys. They were cousins and they were always on there. Hugo admitted that he made up some of it. Now, he didn't make it up like to be malicious and try to, whatever, mess with people. He was not making up a story so much as what he was trying to do was like predict, right? So what he was saying in those chat rooms was that he was predicting that this guy who was supposedly a werewolf, right, or something, he was a cop, that this is where he would go because of the work that the sergeant had done, Maresca. So the Maresca guy, what he was saying was that it was weird when he started interviewing people, like they were saying, well, he's been seen in Belize, he's been seen in Venezuela, he's been seen all these different places, he's in America, whatever. And then they were getting reports, they were getting feedback that this guy was there. People were seeing him. After I do a show, people always come up with their theories or whatever, and they'll send them to me. And I like that because it gives you something to springboard off of and actually go into about like, hey, you know what? So don't be shy. Send me your emails if you have any information that you want out there. I can't promise you that I'll talk about it, but it helps if I could get, people's feedback and what you think is going on, because together maybe we could get to the bottom of it. I just think it's odd that when I looked at the timeline of what was being said, and her uncle Ramos, Marguerite's uncle, who kind of put the timeline together, he was saying these things are being said, and then it's the investigation is happening. Now, an easy way to say, oh, that's not what was going on, was to say that Manasca, I forgot his name, I can't say his last name correctly, but you could say that Sergeant Manasca was basically, he was not, he was just maybe monitoring the chat rooms, but he didn't have the resources to do that. So he got fired from the police department because he was going off the reservation and doing what he thought was right, which was to kind of get to the bottom of this. Now, in the middle of all of this investigation, and if you haven't paid attention and you don't know what's going on Wednesday, go back and watch and you'll know what I'm talking about. So that's for the people that actually watched on Wednesday. So it was called, what was it called?
The Lobazon, the Werewolf of
Werewolf
Brazil.
of Brazil. Yeah, Lobazon, Werewolf of Brazil. Now, I thought about this because I had another one about Cartagena, as it's pronounced. But for the Americans, Cartagena, Colombia. And it was something that this sergeant had uncovered, that there was a story of a werewolf there in Cartagena. But I don't want to do that one yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to go back and do this one about the Ouija board, because this isn't the first time because I can off the top of my head a bunch of Ouija board stories, but one in particular was JoJo's Hernandez from the Hernandez Ranch. Now, he wasn't living at the Hernandez Ranch anymore. He was living down in Buda, or close to it. And they had, he had a stepdaughter. He has a stepdaughter, and they had a slumber party. And her and some girls said, "Tell us what." Well, she calls him her dad. She doesn't say stepdad. But at the time, he said, I said, "Should I just say dad?" He goes, "No, she's mad at me right now, so just say stepdad." So that was what I did at that time. But she said, "Tell me or show me what my dad saw." Do y'all remember that episode? Y'all in the chat here? Y'all do, right? You remember that? When we did the episode about the Ouija board, it was when it might have been Return to Hernandez Ranch. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, that one was a little while back.
And we all worked with these people, so they kind of became like friends of ours, And so it's easy to just talk to them, and if anything new develops, which it has, there are a few little, not a bunch, probably enough for an episode. But I kind of keep up with them every now and then. I'll hit up who y'all probably know him as Jerry, it's his real name. But we talked to this family pretty regularly. And Joe, one of the things about Joe was that he had that encounter where the creature went into the house that he was remodeling.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice house. It was a ranch style house. And so this thing went into the garage, and luckily it didn't open the garage, because they can do that, because it's really just as far as I'm concerned, a human that's just giving itself over to the other. And so it didn't go and chase after him. He got away, but it was in the garage looking up and trying to get out. And what's crazy about that whole thing was his children had grown up with these stories of their dad having had experience with this. He was very repentant for making fun of Robbie and Jerry and all of them, and making fun of their stories about the werewolves that they had seen, which they call them that. Y'all call them Dogman, but they don't really, these people don't know what Dogman is. You can say Dogman all day long. They're not going to understand. They don't call it that. They just call them wolves or werewolves or whatever. And it was funny when we interviewed Ernest, He was another person who had a lot of information about that area, and Brad. Both of them, we talked to them in person. We met with them, sat down, ate dinner with them. And when Ernest was telling us about it, what did he call them? He called them wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I remember him basically talking, about them. And when he was interviewed by Ken Gerhard, and we did not put it in the book because it's so much information, and we already had what we were going to put in there. But that was before I took that chapter out about the county, which I still stand by that because I don't know, man. I still want trouble. But he called them wolves, right? So when his daughter asked, show me, she asked the Ouija board, show me what my dad saw. These girls that were having the slumber party saw something in the closet, and it looked like they just saw I think the upper body and the lower body was like smoke. And it was like they saw this thing. That's not what happened to these girls. But it is weird how there is a similarity there. Not exactly. It's not the same 100%. No way. No two cases are ever 100%, obviously. But this is something that it was intriguing to me. So I thought we need to go back and explore just that particular incident with the Ouija board. Now, they were playing with the Ouija board and they were having a party. And it was Rachel's party. It was her thing, right? So, and she was is best friends with Marguerite. And Marguerite and Margie are cousins, and their names sound very similar, right? And then their other cousin, not their other cousin, Naomi, and then there's another one named Lupe. Now, you might get kind of confused because there was a woman that was on our show. I don't know if she came on the show or she told the show. It was her and another woman named Jenna. I can't remember which one came on the show and which one I told the story. But I interviewed both of them, and they saw the Bear Man or the Bear King or whatever. And it was both in Dripping Springs area. So don't get confused with that. So, but her name was Lupe, but we called her Guadalupe. And then her son, I remember they saw the thing on the side of the road going into Dripping Springs. That's in Central Texas in the hill country. And that legend is very strong there. That and in Marble Falls. So this woman's name is Guadalupe too, but they call her Lupe. Okay. So don't get confused. This is a different story. So there was Lupe and then Naomi and then Rachel. And now Lupe and Naomi are sisters. What Naomi's part in all of this was whenever they were doing the chat rooms, Naomi was like one of the people that was kind of doing what Roberto or what Hugo was doing. And they were predicting stuff. Now, eventually we're going to get into what happened to Hugo too, because he was another one that had the knock on the door by the police. And when this Ouija board thing popped off, I'll put it all together. It got really weird. Like Rodrigo and Hugo are brothers too. Now remember their names. And Roberto is their aunt is Linda, and his sister, and this happened to him, mainly to him. And gosh, I'm confused now. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you. Anyways, Roberto is the cousin of Marjorie and Marguerite. He wasn't there when the Ouija board thing popped off, but it did affect him. And like I said, Linda is his aunt. And his parents, like I said, his dad was an alcoholic and some stuff happened. So his sister is the one that, Rachel, she's the one that basically said, hey, let's play with a Ouija board, right? And the reason the names are important is because they're going to come up again. So remember. So she says, no, I don't want to play. Marguerite was like, I don't think it's a good idea, whatever. And her uncle had told her, Ramos, that had the encounter that we talked about on Wednesday. He had told her, don't play around with stuff like that. Don't mess around with stuff like that. Even talking about it, can invite it, whatever. That was his thing, right? So one of the things that came up, can we turn this? No, just turn it off.
Oh, turn it off.
Yeah, I don't know what it will affect. There you go. Good. Thank you. It's part of my eyes. So one of the things that we're going to talk about it's not only about this particular case here, but anytime you play with a Ouija board and you don't know what you're going to get. These kids were not trying to do anything but have some fun. They were in those chat rooms, those early chat rooms, back in the day, and they were talking about these werewolf attacks supposedly that were happening, or the Lobozon. But I don't think it wasn't really real to them until what happened to Marguerite. Now, when it happened to Marguerite, that's when she said it wasn't real to me until I saw it, and it did what it did, attacked their little vehicle. And so this would have been prior to that, I believe. But she said we had a party and we got together, and I'm sorry, this was after that. And so she wasn't thinking anything other than she wanted answers. So she said, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And Margie told her, no, this is a bad idea. So they were split down the middle. Naomi said it was a bad idea, but Rachel was like, let's do it. Let's get this going, And so, yeah, they busted out the Ouija board and they started talking to it. Now, remember, this was a captain that was in the police or whatever. He was a captain. One of the things that they asked was his name, and he says, Capitan. He says, I'm a captain. Now, this is interesting. They speak Portuguese, not Spanish. So this dude would not have been Capitan like that. It would have been different, right? So here's the thing. This guy was giving them answers that were close to Portuguese, but not really. It was in Spanish. And when Maresco did the research on it or whatever, he found out that this guy, the same name, same description, and got a picture from Cartagena where he worked in the 50s and 60s as a police officer. And he was like, holy crap. How could this guy have been the same guy and looked the same age, maybe a little bit older, but how could he be the same person, right? The captain, if he was living in Brazil, and this was in the early 2000s. That's a long time. If you're already 30 years old at that time, then you're going to look like a 70, 80-year-old man. But he didn't. That's the thing. But the pictures matched up. It was absolutely the same guy. When I talked to Roberto about it, he kept up with it over the years and followed this story. But it just kind of petered out, and that was it. There was nothing else to talk about. Nobody knows, who it was or what it was. By the way, Dick Richards, one of the people that was messaging me this weekend talking, they said you're the biggest moron ever. I'll forward you one of them if I can find it. I don't know. It was on there, something about him being a moron.
That's what qualifies him to be the Monday night co-host.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So what ended up happening? They have this slumber party, this get together, this sleepover, and they start playing with the Ouija board. Now they did this in Marguerite's house. Rachel was living with her aunt, and her aunt would work at night. And so they were like, you're not going to go over there and spend the night. They already knew that little game or whatever. You're not going to do that. So while they're playing with the Ouija board, thank goodness Ramos comes in the room. That's her uncle that saw the dogman creature, whatever. Comes in the uncle, and the uncle comes in and says, stop playing with it, and takes it away from him. That night, Rachel, in particular, Rachel, the one who was pushing for this, she wanted to contact her younger brother who had died in a swimming accident years before. That was kind of her main goal. But this guy called the Capitan had showed up, and most of the wording was in Spanish. And I understand something. Portuguese and Spanish are close, but they're not the same. And so some of these words they didn't understand, and they didn't understand what this guy was saying. So they wrote down, or one of them did, Margie did. She wrote down a lot of the words that were being said. And Naomi's father, or Naomi's grandmother, her father's mother, was a translator and could speak Italian, French, just everything. She could speak Portuguese. So she was able to translate it, but she spoke like 4 languages. And she had gone to school in Spain. So that really, she said, this is Spanish. This isn't Portuguese. And she said, where did you get this? And so they told their grandmother, They said, well, we were playing with a Ouija board and this is what came through. That's also proof to me that these girls didn't make this up because they didn't speak Spanish. They didn't speak anything but Portuguese. And they were teenagers. They didn't have any formal education to go, whatever. And I asked this question too. I said, were any of you guys taking Spanish in school? No. So that is another clue, another piece of the puzzle. And so you put all these nuggets together and you kind of figure it out, you know? Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting was that this entity or whatever it was that came through that called itself the captain, I thought it was interesting that this was a police captain that was going around door to door. And eventually he lost his job and then he disappeared. Well, I don't know if this was him. This definitely was not something completely physical because the first night after they played with the Ouija board, Rachel had woken up with a horrible headache. And like any person that has any sense, she says, you know, we were playing all day. We were swimming. Maybe I'm dehydrated. So she went in and got some water and got, to drink a water. She's like, I drank a whole glass and I went to drink another glass. She's like, and I see something out the window. She's like, and I see something and it's like it's a dog and it's laying on the fence. Now, when I say laying on the fence, what she said was not, and I thought this at first, maybe it was laying up, no, it was like a dog laying on top of the fence. What was really weird about this was that she said that it looked like a lifeless, limp dog, almost like a stuffed animal that was just slung over a fence. Now, if you're sitting there and you're looking at that and you're like, you're a 16-year-old girl, what is that? Now, if it was me, I'd be like, oh, I know what this is. Let me go get my gun. No, I'm kidding. But, she doesn't know what this is. So she gets freaked out. So she's standing there staring at it for a while. Then she sees this, this could be part of the puzzle. She sees this wispy smoke light come through the backyard, through the fence, and it kind of started to materialize. She said it was like crystals. And she said that it was glinting off the light outside. They had these lights these party lights. Everybody there, they string these party lights, And she said that it was starting to make a formation. And she said that it was like these weird, like crystals, like a prism. And she said that she sit there just in awe, like, what is this? This is crazy. And it's taking form. And eventually it took the form of something that we know. We call it what? What is this? Take a guess. Does anybody know?
A rake.
The Glimmer Man. Everybody knows about the Glimmer Man, right? The shimmering. We had one called the Shimmering Phantom. This thing starts to become like some sort of like pixelated. I think it's something that has to do with the simulation that we live in, but that's my opinion. But a lot of people will tell you, no, this is like a pixelated, weird, the prism. It looks like one of these Glimmer Man, Shimmering Phantom people, whatever. It starts to take form. Then she says that this thing became like almost solid. She's like, and what's weird is once it did, it was pale white, like a crawler, like a rake, right? We've all heard the stories. We've all heard of what this is. We've done shows on this thing, but it was off the ground. She said, and it like floated up into that, where that dog was laying on the fence. And then she realized this was not a dog. This was not a stuffed animal. This was a skin. And then this thing kind of floats up, bends itself, and then assumes the skin and then comes back down into the yard. And then she wakes up. Wow. What a weird dream, huh? She wakes up. It's 4 a.m. and she's dying of thirst. So she goes out into the kitchen or goes into the bathroom, and they have a cup there. She goes, it sucks. You have to rinse it out. And it's one cup. She goes, I'm not going to go into the kitchen because we have to walk by the parents' bedroom. She's like, and they always slept with their door open because their dad was super paranoid. We were going to try to sneak out, whatever. So she's like, it was weird. I should have known it was a dream because I wouldn't go to get water in the kitchen. I would go to the bathroom. So she does that. And then she's like, you know how you wake up and you remember like that one part of the dream, but then she goes into the bathroom, and while she's sitting there drinking the water, then it hits her. What the hell was that? And she started remembering everything. So she gets really creeped out. This is right after the Ouija board, right? So she goes back to the bedroom and she lays down. She said it was almost 4 a.m, not quite. But she's like, but I didn't sleep. No. She said, Rachel said, I just laid there. So the next day she goes home and she tells her brother Roberto what happened. Now the Ouija board is her Ouija board. So she took it back home to her aunt. Her aunt had the Ouija board, right? About 2 days go by. Nothing weird happens to her, but a couple weird things happen to her brother. Her brother and his friend were coming from the soccer field, and they saw this weird creature with really tall ears that looked wolf-like run across the road. And it freaked them out. His friend said that the ears were so cartoonishly long that it almost looked like, his friend was Rodrigo, right? Whose brother was kind of making stuff up on there, like not making stuff up, but like saying, what if it's this, what if it's that, and just kept putting stuff out there, and then it was happening, right? So him and Rodrigo see this thing run across the road, and Rodrigo said that it looked cartoonishly long, the ears. Now, here again, another connection to Hernandez Ranch, because you remember Jerry, he had said on the first encounter that he remembers seeing it, his daughter said that, look, it's a Easter bunny.
Yeah.
Because the ears were so long. He said it was Wile E. Coyote long. It was weird. Kind of like Anubis, right? Or Wepawet. Interesting that this was what he saw. He said, but the ears were pinned back and it ran across the road really fast. And he said, Rodrigo stood by that he thought it looked like an evil Easter bunny. And he says, I don't think that's what it was. It looked like a wolf to me, but the ears were just cartoonishly long. He's like, the ears were on the side and they were going back, but they were like, pushed back. So he said, I never forgot what that was. Roberto, right? He said the first time he ever saw this thing. So when I spoke to him, he said, this is the first time I saw it, right? And I just talked to him a couple days ago. I didn't get a real long conversation, but I was able to get that particular story and another one. He only saw it twice, but the second time he saw it was absolutely terrifying because there again, it was a dream. And I think that it affected him. And I know it did. I'm in my heart, I know that it did. It affected him and Rachel because that was the Ouija board. They brought that Ouija board home. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Like that's what happened. Like literally, you can say that maybe if the Ouija board would have stayed at someone else's house, they would have bore the brunt of this. But now we're focusing on them two, right? So then Linda comes home one day. This is the aunt. This is 2 days after this, right? And she sees what looks like an enormously large dog standing on its hind legs, but leaned over on the fence. She stares at it. She's like, it's got its tongue out. It just looks like a friendly dog. And she's like, why is it in my backyard? She has a fence, right? And by Brazilian standards, she's pretty well off, like considering, like she's like middle class. There's not a huge middle class there. It's like poor, and then you're wealthy, and then there's some middle class people. But she's like right in the middle class. So she's doing well for herself, right? Considering. She had a good job. She was working for the government at that time. So she said, I come home. She goes, and then I see this, and I'm thinking, oh, look, there's a dog in the backyard. Then she kind of panics because she's like, that's a humongous dog. Where are my dogs? She's got 2 dogs. They're poodles. Sometimes they go out in the yard and they play or whatever, then they come back inside. And she's thinking, what if this dog has done something to my dogs? And she's terrified. So she is apprehensive, obviously. She gets home late at night. It's like 11, 12 at night when she gets home. She says, I come in and there's like this, I got to drive through this first one gate, and then she closes it, and then she goes, and then to get into the house, there's another gate. She's like, we don't use the front door. She said, but then she's afraid because there's this dog back there and he's just like stretched out and he's like just looking at her like everything's cool. But she said there was a humanness about his eyes and she was terrified. He was white, black, and gray, or white, gray, and beige. She's looking at this dog and she's like, and this is no cell phones back then. I mean, people did, but they didn't have them. So she's like, I have to like go around the other side, go through the fence, hope that dog doesn't come around to the front, and try to get in through the front door. And that's what she did. She's like, and it was unnerving, like big time. So she gets inside, and of course, she tells Roberto, who's the oldest, and she's got her own kids too. And she says, why is there a big dog in that backyard? Did you let the dogs out? And Roberto says, yeah, I did. But I brought them back in. I stay out there with them. And she's like, they didn't always do that. She said, she goes, it was like I had to condition my kids and because people in the neighborhood, they'll steal your dogs. She goes, I got these expensive poodles, right? And she breeds them. These are a male and female. So she says, okay. She's like, let me show you something. And so they walk to the back and she goes to point, and Roberto and her had not compared notes at this point. He looks, thank you for that donation, John. He looks and she says, there was a dog back there. I'm positive of it. They don't have guns. So he goes and gets a big old stick that they used to do the wash with. It's like he calls it a wash stick. And Roberto says, I go and I grab the stick and we go into the backyard, and she grabs a bat, and we're, walking around the yard, and there's nothing. We don't see it. At that point, she said, we go back inside, and I tell her, yesterday when I was coming home, me and Rodrigo saw this thing. I don't know what it was. It looked like a wolf, but it had really big ears. That's when his aunt tells him, Linda tells, she's like, I saw something like that too. The ears were big, but they were folded over. They were almost too big for the dog. It looked like somebody in a suit almost. When she started describing this suit, like this suit dog, whatever, her niece hears this, and she comes out of her room and she's like, Rachel, she's like, what are you talking about? And they start telling her about what's happening. And she's kind of like, uh-oh, that sounds kind of like what I saw when I was having that weird dream. Or was it a dream? Who knows, right? So she tells them, she comes clean and she says, look, I snuck your Ouija board. And she's like, really? And Linda's like, I don't even remember having it. She's like, yeah, it was in the game boxes over there. And I took it, to me and Naomi, we decided to go and take it and play around over at Marguerite's house. It was my birthday, and she's like, yeah, I know. She's like, okay, so what happened? She's like, well, this spirit came through and started calling itself the captain. And then Roberto was like, the captain, like the guy that came to the house, the police officer. And she's like, yeah, but it called itself Capitan, and it was in Spanish or something. And that's when, they translated it and got somebody to do it, whatever. Well, the weird thing is that each one of them would have one more encounter with this thing. Linda would have more than one encounter with this thing. And it would actually go on for her. It would go on for years. And that's a whole nother story in of itself. And I'm still waiting to get the details on that and why it affected her the way it did. Probably more so than anybody else in the story other than Lupe and Naomi. Lupe and Naomi, because they worked with her. She got them jobs there. So when they were going to work one day, something really weird happened. And we'll get into that in a minute. So they're all sitting in the living room. They're kind of freaked out. Now, Linda's young. She's only about 10 years older than her brother, her brother, Rachel's brother, Robert. She has 2 young kids. And the cool thing is that Roberto, he picks up his slack. He works and he helps with the children. He helps cook. He does everything. And Rachel's in school still, so he's a really good brother to her. She's in high school, so her job is to just be a good student, but she also helps babysit the younger kids. There was a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, a boy and a girl. The boy was 7, the girl was 9, and good kids according to them. But they started having nightmares, and oddly enough, this was not something that normally happened, but they began to sleepwalk. And in fact, the boy would actually go into the corner and use the restroom, not pull his pants down and just pee on himself. Oh. And it started happening like quite a bit. It happened like 3 or 4 times. And the little girl would be found sleeping in the bathroom or in one of their bedrooms. It was just a weird thing. And then one night, this is where we'll get into Rachel's encounter. This is where she had something horrific happen. She goes into the restroom to use the bathroom. She shares the bedroom with the oldest girl. Okay. And Robert shares the bedroom with the boy. And so they're asleep, right? Or at least she thought. She goes into the bathroom, and this is weird. Get this. Her cousin is right there on the floor, asleep. And she's like, why is she asleep here? Right? So she goes to wake her. Her name is Amaya. She's like, Amaya, wakes her up. And then she hears what sounds like someone crying in the back bedroom. So she runs back there. Now, Robert worked overnight, right? And she sees the little boy. I think his name was Caesar or something like that. But anyway, he was asleep in the bed. And she went over there to wake him up because he was obviously having a night terror. And then she looks back and she sees the little girl walking down the hallway. And then she didn't have time. It was like something that happens real quick, like in real quick succession. And you don't even have time to think about it. You just do it. And then she turns around and she's like, wait a minute. When I got up to use the restroom, Amaya was laying in the bed. Her bed's across the room, you know. So when I went into the bathroom, Amaya was laying on the floor. And now you have, you know, this kid here. I can't remember his name. It's not
The
Caesar,
boy or the son.
It's like a spelling of Caesar, but it's like Cesar or something like that.
Kaiser.
Huh?
Kaiser.
No, it's like Cesar or something like that, or Cesar. But anyway, they're Portuguese. But anyway, the way that she tells the story was that he was sitting there crying, and he said, Amaya came into my bedroom earlier and slapped me while I was sleeping, and when I woke up, she crawled out of here on all fours, like like a dog is what he said. Crawled out of here like a dog. So she's like, I'm sitting there on the bed, and Rachel's like, what the heck is that? So she goes, you know, back to the bedroom, and she sees Amaya laying there sleeping and just out, snoring. So who the hell was on the bathroom floor? And who the hell went into the bedroom and slapped him? The boy. It didn't make any sense. So she says, the next day I'm at school, right? And my friend Naomi, she's like, her mother, Guadalupe is her mother, right? She says, Guadalupe said, you know, she said, I had a bad dream, and my mother had the same dream. And in this dream, we were walking down this street, and it was really dark. And this man steps out in front of us, right? She says, this is like before our first class, and we're outside in the student center, and we're all talking. And she says, and this man steps out in front of us on this road, and it's really dark. It sounds like the city of night, honestly. And she said that when they were, the person was standing there, they were wearing like a trench coat and like they were dressed from like the 1800s, according to her. And he had like this top hat on. And when he took the top hat off, he had these really big ears. But the ears were not a human's ears. They were like this. They were like a wolf's ears. And they came up into like triangle at the top of the head. And then he had a snout that kind of popped up. And it had like a wolf's head. It was like a pop-up book, according to her. She's sitting there looking at this, and she screams, and her mom grabs her hand and says, let's get out of here. And the next thing you know, they wake up, and she's running into her mom's room and waking her mom up. And her mom's like, yeah, I had the same dream. They compared notes. They went downstairs. They ate breakfast, and they were telling their dad about it or whatever. And the mother was like telling her husband, whatever. And he was just like, whatever, you know. And Naomi's like, yeah, I feel weird. Ever since we played with that Ouija board, it's like we gave it permission. Like she figured it out real quick. And her friend, Rachel, said, yeah, I feel the same way. That night, the next night, this would have been the next night after what happened with Amaya. She went over to their house, and Guadalupe gave her the same dream in vivid detail. Said, I had the same exact dream as my daughter. Like me and Naomi dreamed the same thing. Really, really weird stuff, right? She walks back home. She said they only lived like four streets over, like you just walk like 4 blocks, and there was whatever. And she said that she was walking back home with her backpack. That she wasn't alone. She was walking with her friend's brother, Naomi's brother. I don't know his name, but he walked her home. She gets home, and she says she was terrified. She felt like there was something, like, you know how when you go into the house, if it's haunted, you go into a haunted house and you feel like that electricity, and the hair stands up on your arms and your legs and you're freaking out. Okay, well, she goes inside the house. She goes, and the whole house felt like that. She goes, knowing what I know now, she's like, yeah, it was definitely haunted. Like I could feel there was always something in that house. And she says this, she goes into the bathroom and she's looking in the mirror and she's like, I'm sitting there messing with my makeup, taking it off. My aunt doesn't like me wearing a lot of makeup, so I'm trying to tone it down, whatever. And she says, I'm looking in the mirror. She goes, and for a split second, I see the ghost and it's behind me. Now she's got a thick accent, so I was kind of having a hard time. And I was like, what do you mean the ghost? She says, there's a ghost in that house. It looks like a man. She's like, and I said, is it evil, violent, aggressive, whatever? And she says, no, it's not really mean or violent, but you'll see it and you feel it like it's something there, but it's really strong and it makes you have bad dreams. That's what she said. Everybody says that when they stay in that house, they have a bad dream. And if the ghost doesn't like you, something will happen to you, right? She says, so sure enough, I'm sitting there, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm looking at myself, and I hear a man's voice behind me. And I see something move real quick in the corner of my eye. And she says, and I'm thinking, oh, it's that ghost, you know? And she said that it tells her, it says, it's not happy, it's coming for you. Like there's a voice that says it audibly, not in her mind. Like she can literally hear it with her ears. It's like a physical manifestation, like a voice tells her that. And she's just like turns around and she's like, what? You know, and this thing was like, it was gone. She's like, and then that electric feeling, all that, whatever, just kind of went away. She said this ghost was not really evil, but it wasn't good either. It's like a spirit, like a human spirit that's angry, trapped, and takes it out on you. That's not what she said. That's my opinion of it. That's what I personally think. That's what by listening to these people, what they were saying about it, that's my conclusion. You draw your own. But she said that when that thing said that, it says it's not happy, it's angry. It says he's angry, and he's coming for you. That's what he said. She was like, what the hell? So she goes to take a shower, and she's so freaked out, so scared. She's like, I don't even care. And the way she told me, she goes, I don't care. Tomorrow I go to school, I stink. I don't care. She's like, not taking a shower. She goes, I go back to the bed. I see Amaya laying there looking at her book or whatever. And I said, go to sleep, go to sleep. She's like, and I'm laying there. And she goes, and while I'm laying there, I look over and Amaya's falling asleep with the book on her face. She turns off the light, takes the book, puts it up, turns the light off, tucks her in. She's like, and I hear like somebody's messing with the window. That was a bad impression.
Or they're like scratching it or just
yeah,
like
scratching
tapping
it. I can't do it. It's a bad impression of somebody scratching at a window. Okay. That's what that was. But anyway, it was like somebody was scratching at the window. And she was like on the screen, like they're trying to remove it or something. And she remembers what the ghost told her, like, yeah, something's coming for you. Ha ha ha. You know, well, I didn't laugh, but that's kind of the impression that I got. Like it was mocking her, like, yeah, you're gonna be in trouble. And so she gets terrified and she's like, she has no weapons. She says, I had a shoe. I could grab a shoe. That's all I had. And she's like, and my brother, he's at work. He works overnight at a factory. And she's like, it was all we could do, you know, to take care of ourselves, you know. My Aunt Linda had a decent place, but she had to pay for it now. Her husband had left. He ran off because he was, you know, cheating on her and whatever. So we all had to pitch in, you know. And she goes, and I even had a part-time job 3 days a week, but I had to finish school and I was doing really good. And hopefully I would get a scholarship because I was, you know, I had almost a 4.0 grade point average. She's like, and so my job was to go to school and try to better myself, right? She's like, here I am being woken up at night, not being able to sleep. And so she hears the scratching at the window. And she says she looks and she sees the curtain like shaking. And she had seen this before. She's like, and so I'm staring at the curtain and I'm thinking, she goes, I'm praying. I'm like, please, Jesus, don't let whatever's out there come in here. And I asked her this question. I said, did you tie, bind, and rebuke in the name of Christ? Did you say? She's like, no, I didn't say anything. I just stood there. I just sat there sat up in bed, scared.
praying.
Not out loud either. But she said, I was looking and she goes, and I saw the curtain moving. She's like, and then I noticed that the curtain wasn't moving, it was blowing. She's like, unfortunately, and unfortunately for her, the window was open. She's like, I don't know how and how I did not notice it. She's like, but our house wasn't right there on the road where you would hear the traffic. She goes, my aunt had a nice house. She had a really good job. She's like, but the wind was blowing. You could see the curtain, and she heard footfall. And she was like, oh my gosh. Can you imagine? You're like a 16-year-old girl, almost 17, and you're listening and you hear that. And you're sitting there in your bed and you're just with your little cousin, that your baby cousin, and that you don't, what can you do? She's like, my aunt hadn't gotten home yet, and Shizer, whatever his name was. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but the little boy's in the other room. And then he comes running into the bedroom and he tells her, he's like, and she said that he had his own little name for her or whatever. He didn't call her Rachel. He always called her Rochelle. He didn't say Rachel right. She had a speech impediment. He said, Rochelle, there's something outside. She's like, really? She goes, you need to come here. Come here. She's like, your sister's asleep. She goes, come and lay down in the bed. She's like, be very quiet. She goes, let's play a game. Let's see how long you can be quiet. She's like, and if you can be quiet for 5 minutes while I'm gone, okay, I'll give you some candy. And he's like, okay. She's like, he was, I guess, autistic, I guess, but they didn't really know what that was, but he was autistic. And so she would trick him, like, candy if you behave, whatever. So he was a good kid. He just laid there. She's like, hey, don't, no matter what happens, don't make any noise, okay? So she walks over to the window and she's like, got one of his toys and was like, here, play with this, whatever. And she's like, and I go over there to close the window. And she's like, and when I'm lifting up my hand to close the window, she goes, I see 2 red eyes right there in the window looking at me. And she's like, I'm looking at it, but I can't. It was so dark. She's like, and it was dark in the room. She's like, but there was a lamp on in the corner of the room. So you know how when the light's on inside, you can't see outside? She's like, it was blinding me. She goes, and I wish that light was off so I could see what the hell it was. She's like, but all I saw were 2 red eyes. And she goes, and I saw it move, sway back and forth. Kind of what happened to me at the ranch the other day, but the eyes were white. But then this thing moves towards her. And she's like, and the eyes got bigger. And she's like, I start pulling on the window. She's like, and I'm leaned over because there's like this small dresser right there. She's like, and I'm leaned over the dresser and I'm pulling, and it's not happening. It's not budging. She said it was almost like something supernatural stopping that window from closing. She goes, and I look over, my little cousin's sitting there messing with the toy I gave him. It's kind of like a little puzzle thing he puts together or whatever. But she says he was playing with that puzzle toy, and she goes, and I look, and he looks up at me and he waves. She smiles and she goes, and that gave me the courage because whatever's out there cannot come into this house. She's like, and in my hand, I had the rosary in one hand. She goes, and I was having to hold myself up on the dresser. She's like, I reach up again and I begin to pull down. She's like, and I just said, Jesus, out loud. The window closes and this thing backs up and she hears a thud right next to the window. And then it goes up to the window, this thing, and she sees it right there in the window. She goes, and it was this massive wolf-like headed creature. The way she described the color of this thing was unusual because I haven't heard a lot of stories like this, but it was brindle, like brown and black mixed together.
Yeah, like spotted.
Yeah,
But
well,
not
no, it was
exactly.
spotted, but kind of like striped. It,
Yeah.
kind of like, but she said it was weird. The way she described it was like a brown and black all mixed together. And she said that it was right there in the window, but it was only a split second. And then it like retreated and went back out into the yard. And she said that the 2 dogs, they're always down to bark. She's like, they bark at everything. They're what we would call shadow barkers. They bark at shadows. They bark at everything. These dogs, calm as Hindu cows, totally sleeping. She runs into the other rooms to try to get, to lock the windows. And she said that as fate would have it, there's bars on these windows except for the little boy's room in the room that she was in. And the sad thing was that just recently somebody had tried to break in, so they had removed part of the windows, but they didn't get in. But they had taken them off. So they were only off temporarily. So she said that there was only one place that you could go to get out. She said it's kind of a fire hazard, really, because if something were to happen, you burn up. You can't get out. But it's to keep predators out. Yeah. But she said you would have to go out the front door because there's no bars or anything like that. But she said that her aunt always kept like a piece of wood like put in front of that door. So she goes, I go into his room, into Scheiser's room, to try to close the window. And I go over there because just to make sure that the window wasn't open. Sure enough, it was. And here we go again. She goes, and so I ran over there and I heard this guttural growl. Well, she didn't say guttural, but that's my words, But she said, I took both hands and just slammed it, got it closed. And she says, I don't think that I could have done it if I had not said Jesus. So she said, the first time I said it again, I said, Jesus. This time I said, Jesus, help me. And I closed it. Now she's Catholic and she started praying the rosary. And she was like, Mother Mary, comfort me. Mother Mary, help me. Started asking Christ and the Mother Mary to help her and saints, whatever. They do what they do. And so she says, I back up and this wolf-like creature's out there. So her little cousin had been laying there in the bed and was looking out the window and saw this thing. He described the same exact creature. Now, I think he has like Asperger's syndrome, but the thing is, like, he was dead on about what it looked like. He knew exactly what he was looking at. And he told her, he said that this big dog, as he called it a dog, has been coming up to my window and talking to me. So the next day when they're talking about it, he's like, I only saw it one time, and he scared me. So he told me, he's like, I'm not going to talk to the dog anymore because it says mean things to me now. It says it doesn't like you and that it's going to eat us. And he said, the mother started talking to him and the mother's like, Linda's like, what? Or I'll keep calling her Linda, Lydia. Lydia's like, what? And he's like, yeah. He said he doesn't like us. He's going to eat us. And I asked him his name, and he said his name was Captain. So what in the hell is that? So that's her encounter. And Roberto had one more encounter. He comes home one day from soccer practice because he plays soccer. He played like on a professional team. I don't know the whole story about that, but he played professionally. So he was at practice. And like he was working a job and he ended up quitting and becoming a soccer player. So I don't know if it was like a minor league soccer thing or whatever, but he was a professional soccer player. But so was my friend Jerome. He was one too. So, but anyway, he starts, doing that full time. And at this point, he was just about to break into the league and become a player or whatever. I mean, he was a backup, but he made a living at it. So, But he was coming home from practice, and he's like, I go in, the shed is open. There's a shed where we keep a bunch of gardening tools and things like that. And he goes, so I go back there, and it's still daylight. So I wanted to go and do some, weed eating and some stuff to get some stuff done around the house. He's like, and I'm over there like putting the gas in this thing and getting it going. And he goes, and I noticed something. The weed eaters sounded weird. This is kind of funny. He's like, I was listening, and it was like, blah, 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 blah. I was making this noise, and I was like, haven't even turned it on yet. He said, and my heart sank. I dropped it. And I was like, what is that behind me? He said, dude, it was like when you get drunk and you feel like you're going to pass out, you're going to fall over because you drank too much. He goes, it was like being drunk.
Disoriented like that.
Disoriented as hell. He goes, and there was something behind me. And there again, there was a voice that said, it's behind you. He goes, and I know what that is because there's a spirit there that literally will communicate with people. And they say that, like I said, it gives them bad dreams and stuff. And he's like, I heard the voice before. It was this man's voice. And one time it asked me if I wanted eggs. And I said, that's what it asked? I said, yeah, I was in the kitchen the first night we were there, and I decided to make omelets for everybody. And I was like, where are the eggs? And this voice said, so you want eggs? And this is weird, right? So Lydia says, oh, we don't have any eggs, She's like, I forgot to go grocery shopping. So she walks over to the refrigerator and opens the refrigerator, and they're both looking, and he's like, they're right there. And she's like, what? And he goes, yeah, that's weird. I just looked and there were no eggs in there. So he asked me a question because I interviewed Roberto. And he said, can these spirits make food manifest? And I said, yeah.
They want you to accept it as like permission to, yeah.
So his aunt was like, oh, well, we must have been mistaken. There's a bunch of eggs right here. There's like 2 dozen. So they ate the eggs.
No.
Maybe a bad idea, maybe not. I don't know. I would say if you're cautious, don't do it. Don't even give it to your pets. But yeah, he ate the eggs. Yes, it is the new studio. Yeah. Who am I speaking? Who is WC? Oh, that's West Coast. That's Shane.
Yeah. Shane Michael Crisp.
What's up, buddy? How you doing, man? So be careful, folks. We have a police officer here now. He's watching.
No.
Behave yourself.
He's watching you. You better behave. I'm tired of shit. Shane is coming to arrest you.
Go sick him on you.
Rid of all the paraphernalia, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, good to have you, Shane. I love Shane. He's a good guy. What's up, Bryce Edwards? How you doing, man? Another guy, good guy. Puck, what's up, man? Amy Krill, Paula, everybody in here. So what ends up happening, they eat these, they make omelets, whatever. And he goes, this thing would talk every now and then. Like you would hear it. He goes, one day I was shaving and it said, careful now. And he's like, what in the hell is that? You know? Like it says it in Portuguese, you know, be careful or whatever. You know, and it was like, what is that? He said, you just kind of get used to it, but it's freaking creepy because it's like something's always watching you. He said, but I don't know if it was really evil because the voice said, he's behind you. And it said, run. And he did. He goes, I just took off running. I get up to the deck and I look back and there is this thing. And it's standing there and it's shaking. It's like vibrating, dude. He's like, I was like, what in the heck? And it was like this weird, and we've heard this weird green like mist that was coming around from its legs and going up. He said, and it was like something was stopping it from moving. He goes, so I run into the house. He goes, and I lock the door. He's like, dude, it looked like a brown and black werewolf, about 6.5 feet tall. Not quite 7 foot. So maybe a foot shorter than one I saw so long ago. But he said, he goes, I go inside the house and this voice says, you're welcome. So did that thing give him time to run? Who knows? But yeah, he goes, and then he goes, I go into the cabinet to grab a knife because I was like thinking, where did I put my knife? He goes, and I do weird things. Like he goes, I'll have my, knife or something on me and I'll set it down and grab a glass. He goes, I do it. I find my keys in weird places.
Yeah, forgetful stuff.
He's never found his keys in the freezer, I asked. That's only me. But it happened in my haunted house. But he said, no, I've gone into the freezer, though. He goes, and I found my sunglasses in there. I said, have you ever found your keys in there? No? Okay. Me neither. But anyway, I did. But anyway, he said he found his knife up there, in the counter one night, in the pantry. So he says, I'm starting looking, and I'm like, I put my knife somewhere. I had a big buck knife. He's like, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. If this thing comes through the door, I'm not going to be able to stab that. So he goes, eventually he gets this thought in his head. He's like, it's in the pantry. So he goes into the pantry. He opens the pantry, and there's his knife, and he grabs it. And he's like, it's weird. He's like, I'm getting these weird thoughts in my head. To me, that's communication from a spirit. I think that's what that is. That's just my opinion. I don't know. But he says he comes out, and he's like, he's got his knife, and he's sitting there, and he's looking out the windows and looking. And he stumbles over something. He looks down, and he had kicked a box, and that box had the Ouija board. And the Ouija board was on the floor. Now, you got to remember, this is somebody who's not he's a soccer player. He works in a factory. He's not into the paranormal. He doesn't pay attention to all this crap. It's not his thing, right? So his niece was there, and she was hanging out, whatever. He said it's kind of a weird dynamic. He's like, my niece is like actually older than me. Kind of like a weird thing. He's like a year older. And so his niece is there, and she's like, are you okay? She comes out of the shower, and she had come from another town, well, Sao Paulo, because they live in the outskirts, right, in a small town. But she had come from Sao Paulo, and she was staying for a few days. And they were going to go to some kind of convention or concert or something. I don't remember what he said. but she was there waiting for Lydia to come home, and they were going to get ready and leave because Lydia was getting off work early. And so she says, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know. I just, and he was like, "I wanted to tell her. I just saw a freaking werewolf, but I didn't want to say anything about the Lobozan or whatever. So I didn't tell her. I didn't say anything." And she says, "Oh, look at this." And she picks it up. It's a Ouija board, right? And she puts it, he said it was a black and silver Ouija board. He's like, the lettering was in silver. It was really pretty. Like very striking. He's like, you just wanted to play with it,
Ornate.
It was very ornate, yeah. And so she says, "Oh, look at this. Remember we used to play with this when we were kids?" He's like, "I don't remember that," but she said we did. So she gets the planchette and he goes, "I'm just frozen." I did, because I asked him, I said, "Why didn't you tell her no, don't do that?" He said, "I was just frozen in place. I couldn't even think. I was so freaked out and so scared." And he goes, she starts moving the Ouija board. And then she says, "Is anybody there?" And then they hear, and he's like, "I think that's your answer." So she's like, yeah. She's like, "What the heck is that? What was that?" When that happened, Rachel comes out of the back room. She was on the phone with Lupe. And Lupe was telling her, she called her and said, "I think there's something about to happen at your house." She's like, "Y'all need to leave, or you need to like call the police or do something because there's something there." She's like, "I just had a dream." She's like, and then Lupe started figuring it out. She's like, "I'm out of my body." She's like, I laid down for a nap and I was out of my body and I saw this wolf-like creature. But she saw something else too. She saw a man in a top hat in front of the wolf, like stopping it. So that's weird, right? But she said that the man in the top hat like kind of faded off and became like mist. And then the wolf got down on all fours and was kind of sniffing the air and was moving around the house, going around it. And then she called. She woke up. She was in her body. And she calls her niece and tells her, "Hey," not really her niece, but she called her Aunt Lydia, which is just like her mom and dad were really good friends or whatever. And she said that this thing was right outside the door. They could hear it walk up. She comes out. The two kids are crying. They're freaking out. She's like holding them, one on each arm. And she's like, "What's going on?" The kids are scared. And Robert's like, "I'm scared. I'm terrified." And he said he was holding the knife and he like nearly pricks, his cousin's hand with it. And he tells her, he's just, his aunt, whatever. He tells his aunt or niece, whatever. He tells his niece, "Stop doing that. Don't play with that." And she pulls her hand away and she's like, "Okay, sorry." He's like, "Whatever you're doing." And then while they're talking, and I don't know exactly when it was said. That's my own creative, whatever. But he's like, "Whatever you're doing." And then all of a sudden the planchette starts to spin slowly and then faster. And then it starts to spell captain, but it spelled it in English. Weird. When they're sitting there and they're looking at each other, they're all like, "What the heck is going on?" She's like, "My niece, she's pretty smart. And we know English. We watch TV, it says captain. But who is the captain? What is the captain? What is this? And why is it at our door now? It's at the back door. And the two dogs that never stop barking, they're not barking now. They're hiding under the couch somewhere. But come on, folks, they're poodles. I mean, what are you going to do? I think if you launched one of them at it and it latched onto the face, that'd be a cat. Never mind. They're useless. So anyways, you're screwed, right? He's standing there. He goes, and I'm terrified. I am absolutely terrified. And then we hear the car drive up and we're like, "Aunt Lydia." And so Maya's like, "Mommy." She's like, starts to run to the door, right? Good thing the kid did not run to the back door. She ran to the front door. Thank goodness. Or there might have been some problem. This is a 9-year-old kid, She runs to the front door and she starts to open the door. And by that point, this creature, they don't know how, but it was right there at the front door. So it's standing there on the porch after they had just heard it in the back. They said it must have been like 3-4 seconds. Like how it ran around that house that quick, they have no idea. But this is a supernatural thing. His niece, years later, told Roberto what she saw. She said she saw what looked like a brown whirlwind going by the window, going from the back to the front of the house. She had never said anything. She just kept it to herself. It terrified her so much. And Lydia doesn't get out of the vehicle because guess what? She saw something run real fast. And then she was like, what is that? And then the door opened and the little girl is standing there face to face with a 6.5 foot tall monster. The interesting thing about this, though, the child described this monster as a man. She didn't see a werewolf. She saw a man standing there. And not just a man, but a man that looked like he was wearing some kind of uniform. She didn't see a badge. She just saw like a uniform, like a cop. And she said that he was standing there and he had a weird looking face. She drew a picture of what she saw. It didn't even bother her. She just thought he was a weird looking man. And so she just sees this and she can see through it. So it freaks her out and scares her. So she's like, closes the door, locks it up, and she's like, go away. And then runs back out into the the dining room where all this chaos is happening and says, there's an ugly man at the door. He's ugly. He's hideous. And then, she's like, but, it is Brazil and people, I'm kidding. I'm joking. The women are very pretty, but the men, they always want to fight. Toxoplasmosis, folks, look it up. So what ends up happening, like I got like several of my Brazilian friends now that are all like, we're going to have to kick your ass. I'm like, you're just proving my point, guys.
Exactly.
Brazil is full of cats. Toxoplasmosis. Look it up. I'm not going to tell you. So here's what happens. Their mother stays in the car, right? She's freaked out. She doesn't have a cell phone. Remember, this is like 2001, 2002, whatever. She doesn't have a cell phone. She's out there just freaked out, sees what she saw. She sees the kids looking out the window and they're waving at her, and she's just like telling them to get back, get back. Then she sees it. This is her encounter of what she saw. This thing is walking towards the car. She's inside the first fence. She has to get out and open and close the gate. She's stuck unless she wants to back out and try to tear her car up getting out the gate. And this thing walks around her car and goes over to the driver's side window. By her own admission, she said her knuckles were white from gripping the steering wheel, and she was absolutely terrified. But she says, I didn't look at it. She goes, I did not look at it. When I talked to her, I talked to Roberta at the same time, and she was there. And she basically just told me, this is the only part of the story that she told me herself. She says, Mr. Wolf, when people call me that. But she's like, I didn't look at him. She goes, it wanted me to look at it and acknowledge it. Its eyes were red. I could see from the glow of my window. She's like, but I did not acknowledge him. I did not look at him. She's like, I was clutching a rosary. She goes, and I just prayed. And I closed my eyes. She goes, you know how hard it is when something is right there, when this demonic thing is right there? You know how hard it is to close your eyes and pray and have faith? And I said, yes, I do. So I countered with, you know how hard it is to just sit here and listen to this because I'm dying of thirst. Not do that to me. No, I was listening to her talk about this, and it was frustrating because this thing is just trying to take energy from everybody.
Yeah.
The question is, if it was some sort of, I don't know, avatar of this creature, you know what I mean? What was it that was standing there? I don't know. I can't tell you. But she prayed, and then she looks in the direction of the kids. She does a sign of the cross, and then they all kind of figured it out, like on cue. They started praying. Well, needless to say, it worked. I say needless to say because we've heard this 1,000 times. It does work. Now, I'm not going to tell you if you run into a 7.5 foot tall killing machine that just praying is going to be, I would say, shelter in place or run away or whatever your best options are. Don't just walk out and go, God's got me,
You can't hurt me.
Yeah. I'm good. But you have to put on the full armor of God, folks. You have to do that. Christ is the only protection you really have at the end of the day against these entities, against these beings and what they do. So she eventually gets the courage. When Roberto was brave too, he comes outside with his niece. And I thought maybe because she really just wanted to go to the concert too. You know, she's like, well, I'm going to take a chance. I'm kidding. She gets out of the car and they all kind of meet halfway and run inside. Don't know where this thing went. And the next day, that Ouija board gets taken out to the trash and gets dumped. Nothing happened to it. It didn't reappear or do anything magical. And the haunting at their particular house stopped for everybody but Lydia. Weird thing about that, Lydia began to have dreams for years and was haunted by this black shadow creature with a hunchback. And that started shortly after this whole thing ended. So I don't know what that was, but I have my suspicions because I think that playing with the Ouija board in the house opened up something, and whatever came through, I don't think it had anything to do with this guy, with this werewolf thing, or the man in the top hat. I think that's his own thing. And what they figured out about that was there was a guy that lived in that house back in the 30s and 40s, an old house, and that he died there, and he was a theater performer. And he would juggle and do all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And sometimes they would hear like boom, 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 like somebody's dropping balls. And then all of a sudden, the little boy, when he got older and he grew, and I hate that I don't remember his name. It was like Cesar or something like that. He took up juggling and wanted to be like a performer, you know? And so it's weird because he said he would have these weird dreams and he would wake up and he would do the tricks and stuff, you know? So he did like magic, not magic like Aleister Crowley, but like, you know, like prestidigitation, right? And he got really good at it and he could juggle and all this stuff. And I never got to talk to him. He's a grown up now, but I would love to figure out like what gave him the idea and like how he went about it. Cause all I got was secondhand information. So they think that that might've been a ghost that was in that house, like a real ghost, like a ghost of a person. And, you know, yeah, he was mischievous and sometimes they'd have bad dreams. But here's a sample of one of the bad dreams. I noticed that. I heard 4 different stories about the bad dreams. One of them was from Lydia herself, and this is what she was talking about, a bad dream. She was in this house, and whenever she would walk around the house, it was like a maze, and she couldn't get out. And then she looked up, and there was like this light. It happened a couple times, and there was a hand, and it pulled her out. So was that the ghost, or was that an angel? Was it her guardian angel? I don't know. So, I mean, if you're looking at it in like bad dreams, it was kind of like things would happen. And that house, I think, was kind of like, maybe it had some dark energy. But I believe, and this is just me, her niece playing with that Ouija board probably left something open, and this hunchback creature, whatever, came in. And that's what plagued Lydia for years. She kind of thought for a while that it was this werewolf-like creature, whatever, but it never showed itself to her to be that creature again. So I told her, I said, at some point, it's going to show itself like that. That's my opinion, and take it for what it is. I mean, it's just an opinion, but the fact that it happened after the Ouija board was messed with, you know?
They're definitely related.
Well, yeah, because it happened to her niece too. And I'll give you a little idea of what we're going to talk about again. We're going to move forward into this going into Wednesday. But her niece had a dream, like for 2 weeks, she was being plagued by this imp-like creature with a hunchback. And she was being plagued by pain in her back. And she would wake up and be on her stomach, and she would feel like something had crawled on top of her and was holding her head down, trying to smother her. And she would wake up and jump up, and whatever it was, it would fly off of her. And then one time she even heard like a thud, like something hit the ground, and it sounded like something crawled under her bed. And eventually she did what she was supposed to do, and she went and got some help, and the priest came to the house and they blessed it and whatever, and they prayed, and she, you know, prayed and whatever. And I guess it kind of went away, but it stayed around Lydia for years. And there's a reason for that too, but that's not for tonight. That's a whole nother story. Let's just say that you shouldn't play with Ouija boards. We've said that many times on this show. And I don't care how many people think it's cute and they do it on their channels or they go and do an investigation. Like, is there anybody here? Is there anybody here? Show yourself. Show yourself to me so I can just, chip, chop, chip, And they think that they're cute with the Ouija board.
They sometimes antagonize the spirits too, which I don't agree.
You want to put the camera on?
I said they sometimes antagonize the spirits, which I don't agree with. When I think that just invokes negative energy. You're just bringing out negative energy, which is not good. I mean,
you're antagonizing something, and then you're not closing.
It's like like throwing kerosene on a campfire or something. Like this story itself is like a cocktail of different kinds of things. But the Ouija board is just like, it's like if you have a literal cocktail and then the Ouija board is like pouring Everclear into it. It's just making it so much worse. So much more potent. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And like I've said before, you don't know what you're getting. If you've ever been deep sea fishing, I have a couple times. One, because I had a friend that was he kept on, come out here, let's go to Port Aransas. So finally, I went out there, and and I got kind of bored after a while. It's like you have a few beers or whatever, and you're just like, okay, And then he was like, seasick, huh? And it's one of my friends were obnoxious. I said, no, Joe, I'm not seasick. I'm just bored. So I went out again, and then that time it was cool. I actually caught something. But you don't know what you're going to get. I said, what are we fishing for? Marlin. You never get marlin. You always get something else. What is that? A dogfish? What is that? A catfish? What is that? A donkey fish? Now you're just making stuff up, Wolf. Yeah. But seriously, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get. Like, I literally caught a dogfish off the pier one time. I was in Galveston, and I was fishing, and I caught a dogfish. I was a kid. I didn't even know what a dogfish was. And I was like, what is that? And they were like, oh, it's this little shark-like fish thing, whatever. You're just throwing bait in the water that you don't even, and you're the bait. You don't even know what you're going to get, dude. Yep. But I remember one time I saw a dude catch not a tiger, a sand tiger, like, one of those bottom sharks, whatever. I saw a dude reel one of those up, and it scared the crap out of me, man, because it was right underneath the pier. And it was like 6 feet long. It was big. I was like, what is that? It's a shark. I was like, oh, shit. You just don't know. And people be swimming over there by the pier, and I'm like, oh, don't. Like, the beach will be full, and they were trying to tell us, huh?
That's where all the life is, right?
It is, right underneath that pier. And they were like, oh, yeah, well, there's only one spot over there. I was like, well, then I'll wait. Or I'll go further down Mustang Island, because I'm not going to go and swim by the pier, because I'm not stupid. That's crazy. But that is the thing, dude. I mean, yeah, that is the thing. You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, so Ouija boards, I would say, do not do them. I mean, it's just my thing. So Dragon Gamer says, why engage in the paranormal or asking questions? Just sit in the corner of the room. Sorry, I ask questions. What are you talking about? Are you saying that why even bother if you can't play with the Ouija board? There's all kinds of things you can do. Don't play with a Ouija board, dude. I mean, because that is literally like a portal. Would you open a portal in your house if you knew that something really bad could come through there? Let's put it this way. If you lived in the middle of a jungle that was just teeming with life that could kill and eat you, and there was a tiger roaming around out there, would you go to sleep comfortably with your front door open? No? Man, me neither.
You're going deep sea fishing. Would you cut yourself on the palm and then jump in the water? I mean,
say it again. Put the I can't do it.
Yeah.
I said, if you're going deep sea fishing, would you cut your palm and jump in the water? Like, there's ways to do things without adding risk to yourself, and Ouija boards are doing that.
I think maybe what he's getting at is that, like, it should be obvious, or it is obvious not to mess with Ouija boards, but like to people like us, to at PRT and our people here, yeah, it's obvious, but you'd be surprised that we've gotten a ton of stories about people playing with these things, thinking it's a joke and it's a game, and then their lives are turned upside down. They're like, oh, I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did. Well, yeah, you do, but you just didn't take it seriously. Like at that paranormal conference we went to at the Black Swan Inn in San Antonio, like if you've ever been to one of these big like paranormal conferences, you'll see like all these vendors and all these people, and it's a good time. But like a lot of them just they were selling like these like this witchcraft stuff and Wicca this and pagan that and like black scrying mirrors, like all this stuff. And I'm just going like, dude, if you only knew, like I can tell interest in the paranormal is just like I don't know, like a fashion
Yeah.
thing. It's like cool to you, but like it's serious stuff. And if you knew that, if you took it as seriously, if you were as knowledgeable as you should be, you wouldn't be selling scrying mirrors. You wouldn't be selling, pentagrams and all this stuff. Like that's not. Yeah, it's cute, funny, cool to you, whatever. But it's not a culture. It's an objective reality. It's a very dangerous one.
Mm-hmm.
But most people they just don't know. They think it's a Hasbro toy or something or whatever Milton Bradley toy. It's not.
It's like they're getting a gun and they're just spinning around their finger and then realize, oh, that gun's gonna shoot wherever and it could shoot at you too.
Yeah.
They don't treat things with the respect it deserves.
No. Somebody just said respect the old ways. Right when you said that. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, I'm just giving you the idea that, you probably shouldn't mess with that, It's my opinion. So thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you to everybody who's been helping us with the show. We appreciate it. And I can tell you this, for some reason, Sundays are just, I don't know if we're not doing good or what. We don't get many donations on Sunday. I don't know if you guys are you guys not liking Sunday? Do you hate us? Do we do something wrong?
You guys trying to leave the cult?
Please. I'm begging. That's what they say I do. I beg. I'm kidding. I don't care. Look, here's the thing. Just show up tomorrow, Monday. Tomorrow is the call-in show, right? Where we do the people can jump on and say whatever they got to say. Richard is my co-host. And remember, according to one of the people that emailed me this weekend, he's a moron.
I mean, he'll be the first to say that about himself. Yeah. So it's not like he's insulted. You'd have to get more creative.
Do you believe in science?
Yeah.
Bless him. Oh, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. See, folks, if you could be like Julia and help out, stop being lame asses, it'd be worth it for me to keep this going. But, no. I got to keep working because of you. You did this to me. Freeloaders. Where's your cult dues at?
You're like Calibus. Look what you did to me. Look, mother.
Look at my stuff. Look at it. Look at it. No, so what do we have for the week here? We have tomorrow is the call-in show. Tuesday we have
Patreon.
We're back on track with the Patreon. Sorry we didn't do it last week, and the week before we did it on the regular show, whatever. So we're back on track on Tuesday. Bigfoot Nature of Reality, Alabama. We're going to be talking about it, using the maps and going interactive like we do every Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we're back here, and we're probably going to talk about what happened with Lydia. But then maybe not. We might do something else because I would like to get into this Werewolf of Cartagena because I think personally that it could tie into this. Although the timeline really didn't work. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But we'll see. Thursday, when we do Thursday, that is the members only. We're doing a live stream on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday is another live stream, and then Friday is the first episode. We got to do Daniel Hamilton's first because we're still not done recording with Tagiasha. Sorry about that, Tagiasha. I couldn't record yesterday. We were at the studio breaking it down till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So we got it done.
A lot of work.
We're in the new studio, but we need to get the soundproofing up. It'll be up by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We have a full lineup all week, but Saturday we're gonna be doing True Crime Paranormal, and we're trying to get monetized over there. So please like and subscribe. Please show up. Please support us over there at True Crime Paranormal. And then Sunday we're right back here doing it all over again, right? So
yeah.
Friday we have Daniel Hamilton, who has a podcast, the Cryptid Podcast, and he's my guest on Friday. Now go back and listen to Joel's stuff for the last 2 weeks. Pretty good stuff. He was our guest on Fridays. But now we have, hey, thank you for posting that, David Jones. It's absolutely right. So now we have what we're going to be doing, the random files. Now, people have asked me some questions about that. I'm about to be doing an episode, probably going to do it either tomorrow or Tuesday. I was thinking about Tuesday after the Patreon. I would do it, and it's going to be the relationship between China and Iran. Does it exist? And if it does, what is it? And I'll explain it to you, and I'll break it down, and I'll tell you it's not what you think it is. And so that's going to be the episode that we're going to do for the Random Files. Now, please go like and subscribe. We are now monetized on that channel. And remember, there's a lot of people that hate us. They talk a lot of crap, say a lot of crap. I don't care. I do not care. And one of them said something about, you know, my people. I don't have people, okay? I don't know. Whatever people say has nothing to do with me. So they can just go off with that. I don't care about that, okay? So I'm good. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for everybody who helped out and donated and joined. Join the members. Get your name in green, right? So you can check out the show that we're going to do on Thursday. And then Patreon. Join the Patreon because Tuesday we're going to be doing Bigfoot Nature Reality Alabama. And we're going to do some things a little bit differently now. Starting in April, at the beginning of April into whenever, we're going to do Bigfoot and Nature of Reality. We're going to do that 1 week, and then the next week we're going to drop a pre-record, and that pre-record will also go to Spotify. So you know, if you were just to go watch it on Spotify, you could watch it on Spotify, or you could join the Patreon and watch it on Patreon. But if you join the Patreon and watch it on Patreon, you're also getting the live streams every other week for April. And then you're also getting the swag bags, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 tier. And you get some really good merchandise, and you get my books and everything else. So just join the Patreon. It's a really good deal, and it helps support the show in a massive way. It really does. So thank you to everybody who joined, and yeah, we'll see you. Good night.
In times of trouble, a pardon granted, no future, no fame. Only a noble man's name. Guilty by association, demands he would not stand. With a sword in his hand, he left to fight in foreign lands. Hail Caesar! A man for the people. Hail Caesar! A man for the people. Blood and bone, eventually the throne. This to him was intent unknown. A civic crown upon his head was bestowed for saving his fellow Romans. Fearless in battle, war after war, never bending or breaking. A name himself he was making. Hail Caesar! A man for the people. Hail Caesar! A man for the people. Kidnapped at sea, 20 talents of silver for his release. Julius laughed at the absurdity, raised the ransom to 50. He swore to crucify them all once he was free. A promise he kept for their piracy. Hail treasures and gold sent back to Rome. But whispers arose, senators' hearts filled with fear, for Julius' power was clear. Hail Caesar, a man for the people. Hail Caesar, a man for the people. Hail Caesar. Rome was calling, stripped of his command. Julius had to make a stand. An act of war to cross the Rubicon together. The die was cast, he crossed with his army. Pompey defeated, and power was his. Julius. Hail Caesar, a man for the people. Hail Caesar, a man for the people. Hail Caesar. Self-appointed liberators gathered together, weaving their wicked tale, within them only betrayal. In marble halls, rumors were spoken, prophetic nightmares, so many warnings. But he kept ignoring. Hail Caesar, a man for the people. Hail Caesar, a man for the people. Hail Caesar. Caesar went that day into the theater of Pompey. The signal was given from behind. The first blow. Quickly surrounded, one by one, blow after blow. Pure chaos. Some watched, some ran, as they executed their plan. Julius in fight, when Brutus stepped into sight. The betrayal, he couldn't believe. Julius stopped resisting, his body weakening, as his life slipping